Gary Neville joins us from ahead of that game where he'll be co-commentating for Sky Sports. Gary, let's talk about the opponents of Fulham today and your old club, Manchester United. So the goalkeeping situation. United are reportedly today in talks to sign 23-year-old goalkeeper Senna Larmain from Royal Antwerp, and apparently he is not in the squad for Antwerp today for around $23 million. It doesn't suggest that price, Gary, that he's coming in as the new number one at Manchester United. So how confident are you they'll find a new number one, or do they not need them over the course of the next 8 days?
Yeah, I was asking around about that one this morning. Spoke to a couple of people at United, and the feeling is that the boy that's coming in would probably be a number two. He would start on the bench, but they absolutely do need a number one. I mean, the main priority for United actually is still for them to score goals up front, and we're thinking obviously that Mbeumo, Cunha and Sesko are going to do that. But Onana's travelled today. We think he's going to start. But that situation isn't right. Bayande came in last week. Obviously, he makes quite a few mistakes when he comes in. Onana, I think that now that he knows that United have been scouting around Europe for a new goalkeeper and a replacement for him, his confidence must be shot at and must be thinking he wants to get out. So they have to deal with that. I think that and the central midfield slot alongside Bruno Fernandes are two things that they have to try and get sorted this week.
Gary, if you were the manager, would you pick Altay Bayande today, or would you choose Andre Onana?
No, I would choose Onana. He's the most reliable out of the unreliable goalkeepers that they have. I think Bayande, I think he's young. I think that, for me, Onana is a better goalkeeper, aside from the fact that obviously he makes mistakes as well, and he's not ideal. But I think he's got a bigger personality and character, more experience, and I think that Onana should start.
We know, Gary, how quickly football can change from week to week. And last weekend at Old Trafford, you joined us on set and we talked about Tijani Reinders, who was brilliant for Manchester City last weekend against Wolves. Then yesterday, at home against Tottenham, City lose 2-0. Reinders isn't in the game that much. And City looked completely different. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was a stark difference in performance levels. And I think after last weekend, we all probably thought, were we staring the obvious in the face that Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, we're all ignoring them for the title. We're all looking at Liverpool and Arsenal primarily, and City could be the obvious title sort of challengers to them, obviously, and could win it because of Pep Guardiola. But like yesterday, I thought Tottenham ran all over them. They looked a little bit like an old team yesterday, City, which was worrying. Tottenham pressed and hurried really well. Thomas Frank's come in and done a really good job in the first couple of weeks. But yeah, it was worrying signs for City yesterday because that was a strong team they had out.
Sticking with Thomas Frank, what do you think is the main difference between what they were doing under Ange and now what they can do under Frank?
We've seen him obviously in 3 games, now obviously big games in the last couple of weeks. And what he's done is adapt his sort of style to each game. And obviously big criticism of Tottenham under Ange Postecoglou was that they never changed. They were always the same and you could predict exactly what they were going to do. And in the end, it was a sorry state for them. But what you've seen with Thomas Frank, he'll go 5 at the back, he's gone 4 at the back. They'll press high, sometimes they'll sit deep. And we're seeing a little bit more, I think, of a change in this last 12 to 18 months where we're seeing the old style of football return. It's been this sort of way for a few years that you've got to have a philosophy, you've got to have a way of playing. And now it seems we've got a few managers near the top end who are sort of adapting from game to game. It's what I was used to at United. Sometimes we'd sit deeper, sometimes we'd press high, sometimes we'd play more direct, sometimes we'd be more physical if we were playing away from home against a team like Stoke or Crystal Palace. And I think Thomas Frank's adapting from game to game. He's getting the best out of the players that he's got. A little bit embarrassing for them in midweek, losing Eze to Arsenal. That was a bad one for them, but they recovered really well to get a great result yesterday. And he started well, and the players seem to be thriving under him.
Well, Gary, let's finish with Arsenal. So yesterday there was a ton of storylines. I know you were at the Emirates. There was the Eze beforehand being paraded. There was Victor Gyökeres getting 2 goals. There was the 15-year-old Max Dowman. And then there were the injuries to Odegaard and to Saka as well, which, according to Mikel Arteta, is significant. What was your biggest takeaway out of everything that happened yesterday at Arsenal?
Oh, I mean, yeah, you're right. It was an up and down day, really. I still think the one thing that was telling for me was in that first half an hour when Leeds sat behind the ball and defended well, that Arsenal still looked a little predictable and a little like they were recycling it too much and playing too safe. That may come back to haunt them at certain points in the season. They obviously got their set-piece goal, which they are just absolutely brilliant at corners, the best by a mile. And then Leeds were getting caught on the ball in their own defensive third, which was how the second goal came about. But Arsenal, in terms of their own play in the first half, I just didn't think had enough. sort of quality and creativity, and that was my main takeaway. In the end, it was a great result for Arsenal, but the two injuries are a concern. Saka in particular, obviously losing him, it looked like he'd done his hamstring. Ødegaard a shoulder, but that's why they've signed Eze. That's why they've got Gyökeres, to cope with these moments during the season. They're a lot stronger this season to be able to deal with that than they were last.
Gary, we're going to let you go because I hear there's some really good food in the media room at Fulham.
You won't believe it, Rebecca. They've put two ingredients that I've never seen put together in my life on the menu: sausage and prawn gumbo. I don't think anybody in the US will have ever had that in their lives, but I'm about to taste it right now.
I guarantee you they absolutely will. We would like a report next week on how the sausage and prawn gumbo went down. Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long, and for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.